Welcome to Game Related, where we highlight opportunities and obstacles from former athletes with the thought process of giving future generations a better understanding about the game.
These conversations are meant to bring awareness to the hardships and opportunities that come along with the game. Let's get game related.
All right, y'all, welcome back to another episode of Game Related. We got our guy Fat Cat in the building. Um, Man, out of all the things that I can give him as far as achievements, one thing that I will tell you, I've seen it firsthand that Cat has always made sure that his guys was great. You know, from high school to even college, he always looked after his kids, developed them, worked on their character as men, and obviously helped them excel in the game of basketball. So he's here to talk to us about, just his visions of what's going on at Bryant and, just his scale up from Rock Creek and just also his development with players. So welcome to the show.
Appreciate it, man.
Welcome,
Appreciate it, yeah.
welcome.
Yes, sir. See, I had to get that together.
Yeah.
So man,
We got relations. You know it's game related. Don't do this to be famous. I really got passion. And it take patience. You know it's game related. I'm related to the game. I'm related to the game. You know the game related. You know it's game related.
one of the first things we always ask everybody is handling success. And you've seen this firsthand, right? You might have a kid that's extremely talented, but once they achieve this certain level, maintaining that level of success is a difficult thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, talk about how do you prepare players to deal with that?
So first, obviously, you gotta get their trust, and it's funny because I guess it's kind of expanded in years now. Not only back in our day, you had to get just our trust, right? Now you have the parents are more involved, which is a good thing. So now you got to get the parents' trust and the kids' trust, which is two separate things. It's two separate things. So I think it starts off with there, and then you can start introducing the development, and then you can introduce yourself as knowing kind of what you're doing. And even if you don't know what you're doing, you can kind of pivot them in a way to kind of go with somebody who does know what they're doing. So it's difficult. I guess it's a science, but you got to kind of just be in the situation and then be in the kids' lives, so you know what buttons to push and what is best for them, because one handler is not good for one kid, and everybody's different. So I would say, man, trust is the first thing that you got to earn with these kids, and now their parents or their handlers or whatever.
Talk about, like, so trust. That's a very important concept. Especially I value it big time. Like, what would you say that you do to get kids to trust and believe in Chris Cole?
For me, it's just being genuine. My father, was a genuine person, and he gave a lot, and he was like a before and after coordinator. So he did a lot of this stuff. So I grew up from the age of 4 seeing him care and be genuine for people. Then when I got into the basketball world, I came up under the Steve Turners and the Curtis Malones and Trevor Browns and Lou Wilsons. Like, I seen those guys and how they treated their kids. So naturally, like, if you're in that environment, you kind of pick up those things. And then I think, God blessed me with having, my heart. And so I kind of just took little things from each of those guys that I seen growing up, man. And I wouldn't say it's anything. I think it just comes naturally. And if you're genuine, kids will understand. Just like us as an adults, we can read a room if you're not genuine, and kids even more. So I think the fact that kids know that I'm genuine, and the fact that I'm willing to spend the time, like, that's where trust comes in. Like, you can't have trust if you're not willing to spend the time. If you're not around them, if you're not invested in them, then it just doesn't work. So I would say my ability to be able to spend the time, and then for kids to read exactly who I am and what I want out of them.
Man, that's a great point. I always say you can tell a lot about a person by where they put their time and their money.
Yeah.
You know, I know money is not a thing of this conversation, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
yeah,
You know.
for sure.
So, man, let's go back to the days of you playing, man. You know, how did you get the nickname Fat Cat?
So, so it's funny, man. You know, when I was younger, I think I was like, what, seventh, eighth grade. Like I was up there, I was fooling with Curtis Malone and all those guys before my father passed. Because I grew up in Germany. People don't know, I grew up in Germany. Yeah.
What part of Germany?
On an army base. I was in Kaiserslautern, so right next to Ramstein.
Okay.
And I used to go to Frankfurt all the time. So I was over here so my parents moved over there when I was 5, but I came over to the States every summer, you know, just to play in camps and stuff like that. But by the time I was 12, 13, I was like, I wasn't getting paid, but I was playing in the professional leagues over there and all that. So when I came over here, I was playing up.
Yeah.
But I didn't know I was playing up. Like I thought I was walking in gyms because I played up so much in Germany. That was my peer group. Mm-hmm. So I was also emotionally mature. So when I come over here, my father is telling me I'm playing my age group, but I'm playing 3-4 years up. And I'm thinking they're my peers. So by the time, you know, my father got progressively sick, and then everybody, for instance, like I went to 5-star, the big 5-star when I was like 12 with Tom Shasowski and all those guys. People don't even know that. Yeah, Tom Shasowski and all those guys. And I went out there and I played very well. At the end of, I mean, I played against guys like Omar Cook and all that, like at 12, 13 years old. And at the end of it, my father obviously had a plan. He was forward thinking at the time. He told the people at the end of it, well, he's 12, 13 years old. Here, I got his birth certificate. Meanwhile, I'm thinking these guys are my age anyway. Like I didn't know, and I wasn't talking to people. Like nobody knew who I was. So after that, I was on the verge of like being ranked. Like I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but people back in the day, Sebastian Telfair was the guy, right? Yeah. But he couldn't play against like the 16s and 17s of assault, and I was doing that on a regular. You know what I mean? Just not dominating, but I was able to hold my own out there. So I was also invited to that ABCD camp that Sebastian, when he was young, blew up on, but my father passed away. So I ended up dealing with that around that time, and then I gained weight. Because I went to Montrose Christian, and I damn near stopped playing basketball for like a year. You might as well say it. Like I did, but
right. And
that's where I gained the weight. So when I left Montrose Christian and I went to National Christian, Miles did our Midnight Madness. Oh, okay. Yeah, people don't even know that. Okay. So you know Maynard Curry, right? Yeah. Longtime assistant with Trevor. He had a friend, like a friend his age, called Fat Dog. So he was just joking around and called me Fat Cat. And then I did something, I don't even know what I did during the Midnight Madness. And during those National Christian days, it was live. Like, I mean, everybody was in our gym for Midnight Madness. And they got Miles to do it. And Miles said Fat Cat over the thing. And I don't even know if Miles remember it like that. And it stuck forever. Like, man, I go on recruiting because I told you, Ish's mom, I was talking to Ish's mom for like an hour. And she just giving me the, yeah. And I was like, at the end, you know, they call me Fat Cat. She's like, oh, Fat Cat, why you ain't saying? I'm like, I might as well lead off like this with all my recruiting. So now people don't know Maynard Curry gave it to me, but Miles was the one that kind of blew it up without even knowing. I wonder, I need to ask him if he even remember that. Yeah. He's the one that did it.
Well, he definitely tunes in. So yeah. we might just tag him on there. Yeah. So talk about National Christian Days. I mean that team was a mob. Just the amount of talent that was there, and just talk about, you know, what you learning to play with all of that talent.
So that was my time. Like I left Montrose and I was getting back into the game. Fortunately, before my father passed, Trevor Brown
Yeah.
was connected with my father. So once he saw me struggling, not even just basketball wise, because at that point, man, I wasn't even tripping off basketball. People don't even know. Um, he kind of talked to my mother, grabbed me like, man, don't even worry about basketball. Just let me get him into school, get his mind back right, whatever. So I ended up falling back in love with basketball and, got myself in shape. I was never as athletic as I was as a kid. You gain all that weight that just doesn't come back. But at that time, man, it was a bunch of guys. It was Chris Matthews, lethal shooter. And at the time that we were this team, all of us we weren't like highly known names at the time. So Abdullah Jallo, who went to St. Joe's, had a good career. People don't even know how good Abdullah was. If he played in this era, Abdullah Jallo, lethal shooter, Chris Matthews, Brian Inge, who's doing a bunch of great stuff right now. Kevin Durant was on that team.
Wasn't Deron Washington with y'all too?
Deron Washington. So Deron got drafted. Patrick Ewing Jr. got drafted.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know who Kevin is. And then Jesse Sapp went to the Final Four. Like, we were loaded, but at the time, we were just all regular Joe Schmoes.
We knew, I knew, but not to, I guess maybe not nationally.
Yeah, not nationally. And then we went to Slam Dunk to the Beach and played against Darrell Wright, Cheyenne Moore, Jack McClinton, when they had all those guys. And we got with them a little bit. Abdullah didn't even play in that game, man. But we got with them. And that was Kevin's coming out party as a sophomore. So, but those days, man, the one thing I take away from it, man, every single day we played hard.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about, now that I look at guys in practice like this generation, I mean, we played hard. I don't ever remember leaving that gym without a scratch, a bruise. So it was just natural. It wasn't no big deal about it. It was just, I don't ever remember leaving that gym without some type of knick-knack injury, you know?
I'm going to say this. So we used to go to 5-star camp, right?
Yeah.
And I think me and Abdullah got into some trouble. So for our punishment, we had to work out at like 6 a.m. And they made us play one-on-one. What you just said, scratches, and my God, Slim. I mean, we was fucking each other up.
He played hard too.
So like,
Shout out Abdullah, man. People don't know because he was a headache sometimes as a youngin' to play with. But man, that dude was good, man. Because I hadn't gotten back to my level that I was when I was a youngin', but I had gotten pretty good. But he still was like one level, but just athletically and just he was Russell before. I'm not saying he's Russell Westbrook, but he was that type of player before it even happened. He was tough,
very physical,
very physical. Yeah,
and he definitely on the defense end, he definitely was playing good D
too. Nah, he played hard. You couldn't take that away from him.
That's funny. We're gonna talk about that later on. Just playing hard.
Yes,
you know what I mean. We're gonna dive into that when we start talking about recruiting and stuff.
Yeah.
So talk about you ended up committing to Hartford, right?
Yeah.
But why did you commit there? And
so
what made sense there?
I ended up committing there. It's funny that I know we'll get into this later, but I really wanted to play for Phil Martelli Sr. I don't even know if I told Phil that, but I really wanted to play for him. So I was waiting on them. And then Marquette had the kid Dominic James. They were getting ready to bring me on a visit and Dominic James and whoever came committed first. And I think they went to Nike camp and Kevin came back and told me, like, nah, Kate, he the deal. So I think that was over, Kevin. You my man, but he the deal. So, so he ended up taking that, and then it got late. But the real reason I went there is because there was a coach, Chris Pompey. I don't know if you guys remember. Great dude, man. Great dude. So he ended up being him and Trevor Brown were close friends with my father before he passed. So I was like, man, let me go somewhere where somebody knew me. I trust him. Just a good dude, and I kind of followed him there. He ended up going to New Mexico State too.
Okay, so
So
I was about to,
yeah, I
that's the
followed
next
him.
question I was
Yeah.
going to ask you. What led you to go to New Mexico State? Like first, how was Hartford for, was it a year or two?
It was just a year.
Just a year. And
Yeah.
what made you jump to New Mexico?
So first, I broke my toe the first half of my freshman season
Mhm.
at Hartford. So I played that entire year with a broken toe, and then after that, you know, it's weird, but Larry Harrison, who was a longtime assistant at West Virginia, got Coach of the Year and got fired. My freshman year, you can go look it up. My freshman year, he got Coach of the Year and then got fired. So even though Dan Leibowitz,
Is he still at West Virginia?
no, he's not at West Virginia
I
no more. They got a
thought
whole new
I
crew there.
think he caught a raw deal at West Virginia
Yeah,
too, in my opinion.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're not gonna talk about that,
Yeah.
but yeah, I
Mhm.
agree.
Mhm.
And he's a super good dude too,
Mhm.
man. Love him to death. But yeah, so um, once that happened, it was just sour to me. And they came all the way down to DC to try to talk me off the edge, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm gone.
Yeah.
Like you got rid of my man. Like I'm not coming back. Like what are we doing?" So I ended up Reggie Theus ended up, who's at Bethune Cookman, doing a pretty good job now too. He ended up coming down to DC, and I was in the gym with my man Steve Harley.
Mhm.
Shoot, Mo. People don't even know, man.
Steve was a dog
Steve,
too.
whoo, Steve was tough. But Mo over there at the museum, and
Yeah.
Greg, we
Mhm.
was over there playing in up in Silver Spring, and Reggie came down there and saw me. It was like, man, come up to Mexico, da 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 da. And that's how that happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. How did you like playing there?
I loved it, man. I didn't get to play for Reggie, but I played every day in practice, obviously, and
Mhm.
I couldn't wait to play for him, man. He was a good he had a good balance of holding you accountable, but being a player's coach as well.
Yeah.
So I was excited about that. I had gotten myself in a lot better shape, so I was ready to go.
Okay.
Then they brought in Herb Pope, who was like in the Jordan game, like McDonald American, all that type stuff. So we ended up having a pretty good mob at that time, little old New Mexico State. It's done blown up now, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And so then you talk about, there was this, I'm trying to figure out this gap right here,
Yeah.
right? Now the gap of you going into just getting your degree.
Yeah.
Right? Talk about that a little bit.
So yeah, I had a rough patch, man, after New Mexico because I got sick. So I played a year at New Mexico State, and then I got sick towards the end of that year and during the summer. I got sick with cancer. It was the same stuff my father passed away from. Fortunately, I caught it early, so they were able to, take care of me. I had some good people at New Mexico, man. That
What type of cancer was it?
colon cancer.
Ah.
Yeah. That'll eat you alive if you catch it late, man.
Yeah.
But I had some people. They sent me down to Cleveland Clinic. I spent some time down there and came back and got myself together. But at the same time of me getting myself together, basketball was kind of over, and
Right.
the team was doing pretty good without me and all that. So I went in kind of a depressive state, and I didn't handle that well. So I spent, man, maybe about 2 years. People don't know because I was just off the face of the earth, I would guess. I spent about 2 years, man, just at one point, people don't even know I was homeless. I was homeless. I was living with my girl. I was homeless out there, man. I couldn't work and hold a job because I was always sick, So at that time, people don't even realize I couldn't afford a $325 rent a month, just because I couldn't hold up a job. So I ended up, man, fighting my way through it, getting through that little obstacle, and then working. I ended up, I was a telemarketer.
Yeah.
I went in there, got fired the first time, and I showed up at them people's door every day to try to get another chance. It took them 2 weeks to give me another chance, man. I ended up getting that job, that wasn't enough. So I ended up also being a call center person for a medical center,
Okay.
Rio Grande Medical Center. I remember it to this day. So I would work telemarketing from like 6 to like 2. Then I would walk all the way probably 2-3 miles to Rio Grande Medical Center. And I did that for about a year and a half, man. And then out of the blue, it's funny how God works, man. And, I don't want to preach too much, but
Preach.
if God will help you if you're willing to help yourself. When I was depressed, I was sitting on my butt and I stayed in that state, right? When I got myself out of that state and tried to start doing stuff for myself, God gave me a bridge, and out of nowhere, Curtis Malone called me. Just out of nowhere, just checking on me. I don't know how he got my number or what. So he called me, checking on me. It was like, hey man, if you ever, and this is when training started to pick up. Like back in the day, it wasn't training. We were just in the gym with a coach. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he told me, man, I got something for you if you come back, like da-da-da. So I had a girlfriend at the time, a real serious girlfriend. I was like, man, I got to try to make something shake. Like, we out here, both me and you struggling, you trying to get your degree. I'm, struggling out here. So I made enough money to give me a plane ticket home, met up with Kurt, and then he kind of explained to me this training thing. And it's funny, we had Gonzaga because my first client was Nate Britt.
Okay.
My first client was Nate Britt, man. Shout out to the Britt family, man. They did a lot for me, man. They did a lot for me, and they kind of helped me kind of expand. So Nate Britt and Chris Jenkins were my first, and they went from, while I was training them, Nate was George Mason to North Carolina, and Chris was around that mid-major, and ended up, not saying I had all but that's just what happened during that period of time.
You were molding them.
Yeah. And they ended up going pretty well. And then after that, I did Nolan Smith's pre-draft stuff. And then I did Norris Cole's pre-draft stuff and was working with him throughout those years that they won the championship. So that was fun, but that's kind of how I got back into it. But that's the little gap that people don't know about, man. And then I ended up at Rock Creek.
Man, you said something that really, like, I'm big in the mental, like your mind, it got to be strong in order for you to take these next steps. And not very religious, but I'm real spiritual, right? And one thing I do know is a lot of times you'll be stuck in the same spot, right? And you're like, damn, why I'm still here? And it's because you haven't shown the man upstairs that you can handle more.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And the more you can show, the more capacity that you have, the more that you're working on yourself, then he like, all right, I can give you more. But until you'll see people dealing with the same stuff 3-4 years, and it's just like, wow, it's because you haven't shown that you can move forward.
And sometimes he keeps you there.
Yes.
So you can learn.
What's the lesson?
So when you're in that next space, one, you know how to handle it, but two, you know how to inspire others, with your knowledge. If you just beating it and you don't got no knowledge, then you're not really, helping his people. And that's all everybody's on earth for. If not, he would have just kept Adam and Eve there, right? I didn't want to get into preaching too much,
man,
but
it's necessary, man. I pray and I ask him to let me be a vessel for others, Joe. I'm serious.
And he'll bless you when you're not even and that goes back to, gaining kids' trust and all that. Like if you're really a vessel, or you're really about helping people, one, God will give you enough for you and those other people. He's not going to have you help people and you not have him not fill you with enough to be able to do that.
Man, I'm proud of you, dog. Like for real, like that's that depressional state at a young age, and just the things the adversities you had to deal with, man, and pulling yourself out of it, man. That's what's up, dog. Oh my bad, I got all excited.
It's just what we talked about, though. Like it's development, and you wonder why at a young age, why did he take my father away, my best friend, this, that, and the third. But that was also, as I was depressed, that also taught me later in life, maybe 10, 12 years later, when I'm depressed about this, how to get out of it. Because 10 years ago when my father died, I was in that same state and I was able to get out of that. So now that I got cancer and this, that, and the third, how do I get out of it? Now I have the mental memory to be able to, physically and mentally get out of it. Like God don't give you anything that you're not going to need to use. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Later on. So.
Mm-hmm.
So you touched on it because my question was, what made you jump into coaching and training? I know the training part came from Curtis and stuff like that. And then straight from the training, the coaching just kind of rolled in.
Yeah, so we all been through it. Like when basketball's over, man, that's a tough day.
Yeah.
when you ain't got it no more, man, it is a tough day. But I grew up under all the guys that cared about me and got me out of that depressive state were coaches. Mm-hmm. The Steve Turners that were checking up on me, the Mike Joneses that were checking up on me, Trevor Brown. I watched Luke Wilson. Like I watched all these guys. So my first instinct is to give back. What am I best at? Basketball, right? Mm-hmm. So it's funny because I keep saying Curtis Malone, man, name, man. I'm giving him too much of a shout out on here. That's my man. That's cool. But he actually, Trevor Brown pushed me into coaching because he let me coach JV for him at National Christian my first year. And then Curtis Malone knew the principal at Clinton Christian / Rock Creek. Yeah. And that's how I got the job there.
Okay.
So he did a lot, man. And, he had his trials and tribulations, man. But the other side of him, man, he did that, man, him. And there's a lot of different people that saved my life, man. And he was definitely one of them that pushed me in the right direction to start this coaching thing. And before we go, man, I'm Malcolm Battle.
Okay.
Like Malcolm is loud when he's coaching and all that, but he really in the back scenes. People don't know how much. We talk about Curtis Malone and Trevor Brown and how important they were in my life. When I tell my story, people don't even know me and Malcolm are connected. I could not find a gym. Like even though Curtis set me up, I could not find a gym. Malcolm Battle had he was at Cesar Chavez, but he also had the gym down Bennett Road. Yeah. So Malcolm used to let me work there for free. Little workout there for free, man. I was so broke. I used to get on the metro with the same shoes and everything. I would get there an hour before, right? So that because my clients ended up being NBA guys. So I don't want them seeing me in the gym and walking from the metro. So I would go an hour before. Malcolm would just let me sit in there. He would let me work out my guys in there all day without asking for a dime. Now picture that though, like nowadays, you think somebody gonna see all these pros walking in the gym and not ask for a dime? Man, so Malcolm let me do that for like 2, 3, 4 months. Really, he let me do it until I was done, but never asked for a dime, man. It made me give him a 6-pack here and there, but other than that, never asked for a dime, and then continued that when the summer and stuff were over, and he let me use Chavez and all that. Like if I didn't have that gym, I wouldn't have had that clientele. I wouldn't have been able to like that. And even to this day, man, the only thing he asked for is, can I help any of his kids? You know what I mean? But people don't know how much around the city, and I'm not even a city kid. So he gets all the credit for all the city, but I'm not even a city kid. And that man looked out for me. You don't do all this stuff alone, man.
It's so crazy you said that. I'm going to take it back. So my grandfather helped Curtis and Troy and them secure a gym at Columbia Park. So that's what DC Assault got started.
Wow.
And my grandfather used to basically...
I did not know that. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
World, yeah. Just a 360 moment.
Yeah, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's funny how that works, man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, all right, so now you get to Rock Creek, right? Yeah. So talk about how that first experience was, and then how was you able to keep on consistently bring talent up there?
Well, like I say, his guy, and people laugh at us when I tell them, man, when I was a player, right, I don't ever remember being on the floor and not feeling like I was the smartest guy on the floor. Maybe not the best, but I feel like I could manipulate a game without shooting a shot, without even getting an assist. I feel like I could manipulate the whole game for 40 minutes. That doesn't always translate to coaching. So my first year, man, I got lucky. I'm telling you, I ended up winning the championship. I think we beat Lou Wilson or Trevor, one of them. And I had John Davis, who went to Charlotte.
Yeah.
I had DeVell Phillips, who was at DePaul for a second. I had a bunch of kids, man, and it actually came from my training. So I built relationships with people just genuine, like with their families just based off training. So when I got the job, they came over to Rock Creek with me. So I had like Leroy Butts at the time, came from O'Connell over there. Like we were loaded my first year.
Yeah.
And it was luck. Like I didn't know nothing. It wasn't like I went out and recruited them. Like they kind of just followed me. And when I tell you, man, I was such a bad coach. Such a bad coach. I was a good person, you know what I mean? But X's and O's and when to call the time, man, oh man, such a bad coach. I mean, I look at myself from here to there like I was awful. So it was just funny, man, because we still ended up winning the championship. Fortunately, I had good players. But I learned a lot that year just about coaching, because you think just because you know the game, and this is for all the fans that are, look at this, the camera, it's all the fans and the dads, y'all think you know the game and it translates to coaching. It does not. It does not, man. So, you think it's just an easy transition, and it wasn't. And I got lucky. Not only did I have good players, but I had good families, which DeVell Phillips, which Big Mac, who's Riggs Rec Center and all that. He could have left after that year, because me, if I'm a parent and I'm seeing this 20, I think I had to be by far the youngest coach in the area that had a good team, like a top 5 team in the area. I'm looking at this 24-year-old kid and he messing up. I'm not bringing my son back here. Yeah. And they had a heart for me for whatever reason, and they felt their son was better in my hands. So not only did they keep DeVell there that next year, but they helped recruit some other people. So, and this is the same with college, man. Like the best recruiter is going to be the people that have experience with you. Mm-hmm. Like I could sit there and sell you a dream all you want, but if my player comes and tell you, he's full of it, what you gonna think, right? So those guys telling other families that they can trust me and that I would put the time in and stuff like that, that's really what helped my recruiting, because that next year I ended up getting Kevin Dorsey. So tough. So, and then I ended up winning again that year. So, recruiting, man, I think it's about relationships, and I think even more than just people think your gift of gab, I think it's the experiences that other people have that they can relate to the next crew that you're trying to recruit, or the next person that you're trying to recruit. And it kept rolling, man, because even to this day, I don't have the gift of gab. I don't like selling stuff. I don't like that part of the business. But I keep getting kids from this area because I do, like you said, I'm going to put the time in. Like I'm going to be there at 9:00 at night in the gym. I'm also going to be there at 9:00 at night when you got in trouble at the club or such and such. And I think parents, they talk. So they know when they put their kid in me that I'm going to be there, be available, and I'm gonna treat them as my own. So that's to me where my recruiting success has been.
Okay. So my next question was the importance of relationships, and you definitely spoke about the relationships and how it helped you push forward. Yeah. I guess we want to talk about that, but I really think just having those important relationships is just because you just have to be a good person. Number one, you know what I'm saying? For those people who even want to kind of commingle with you and want to help and be in your corner.
For sure.
But we spoke on it, but just elaborate a little bit more on just really how important relationships are, and for some of these young guys and coaches and trainers, they definitely could take something back from that.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, especially because our area is so competitive, not just with the players, but with the trainers and with the coaches, that everybody tries to shortcut everything. They try to get to the bag or the position or something so fast that they're not genuine in the first step. And the first step is that person that you're dealing with, that relationship that you're dealing with. And I think that's where people go wrong. Like if you take care, if you eat what's in front of you, like genuinely, like if you take care of that, again, we talked about God will take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
But don't think that you're going to like, even if you get over this corner and get around another corner, like it'll catch up to you. So for me, my success has been based on relationships, pure and simple. Like I told you, I do not have the gift of gab. Like I don't. And I'm not the best at, like, I made my name off training, but I'm not, arrogant enough to think that I'm the best trainer out there. I darn sure wasn't the best coach out there. You know what I mean? But my relationships with people, and they know the time and the effort and my care factor that I do have for their child or their mentee or whoever, it has blessed me. And I think God has blessed me not just with kids, but with certain kids. Mm-hmm. Like, he could easily just, if we're talking about blessings, people just think blessings are just, he's just giving you success. No, he's giving me certain kids because certain kids need some of the experiences that I've had. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So a lot of times we get caught when we're just praying for blessings, and here and there we get caught up in, just the success part of it. But there's the kids that I have gotten, there's a reason I've gotten those kids. Mm-hmm. There's a reason he has placed those kids there in front of me. And I think me being able to assist those kids and them talking, like, it's not just my relationship, it's, I do right by you. Now you have a relationship with Stan, so you tell Stan, hey, go fool with him. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a big circle thing, man, but I think being genuine in the relationships that you build will take you not just that instant, but, you might have a son that I need in 20 years or 15 years, you know what I mean? And you're going to trust that because of the way me and your communication and stuff is. So relationships, I don't care how much NIL happens or this, that, because that is going to be a factor going forward. But even in the college business, relationships are always going to matter. Yeah, I mean, it matters when you're doing business, right? Yeah. Like you're doing regular business, relationships matter, even though you're dealing with money, especially when you're dealing with money, right? Yeah. So I think people in the NIL space are just focusing on money. Like they just think it's about money. But parents are going to start, just like they've gotten smarter in the recruiting game, just before the NIL, parents are going to evolve and they're going to start only dealing with guys that they can have relationships with, because money, you need relationship. People ain't playing about their money. So, relationships are always going to be there, man. You got to have those.
I feel you. Relationships matter on game related. I just say that. Straight up. I'm going to say it. So, man, let's talk about Bryant. How did you get into the opportunity of being able to coach at Bryant? And then also, there's a lot of young high school guys that aspire to get to college. Just talk about what you had to deal with, maybe give them some advice.
Yeah. So it's twofold. The first, how I got there, we talk about relationships, right? How I got there is when I was a freshman at Hartford, Jared Grosso was the assistant there, and he used to work me out. Okay. Now, he didn't end up staying on the staff. He actually got a job at Quinnipiac where he played college basketball, and he left. But 20 years later, he's a head coach now. Or I don't know if it's 20 years, but however many years later, he's a head coach now. I'm looking to get into college finally, because I really didn't want to. I had to have some mentors like Jeff Chappelle and Maynard Curry. They pushed me out of high school because I was so focused on the kids. They were like, man, you need to take this next step. And when I decided to try to take the next step, Jared Grosso got his first job. He ended up hiring me because he remembered me as a freshman at Hartford. And we hadn't even talked for maybe 10 years, you know what I mean? But he remembered me, and that's how I ended up getting to Bryant. And the second part of that was, what would I recommend to high school coaches? One thing I did not know, and it's going to sound funny, but it's true, and we just talking straight. I had all these offensive ideas and defensive ideas going in. I'm telling you right now, they don't care. they don't care, man. Like I'm trying to tell you, so guys get caught up in showing, like I'll go to a high school practice and they're showing all these different plays. Not that we don't care, but when, say, you're spending 10, 15 years climbing the ladder and you finally get your head job. You don't think I got 10 to 15 years of information that I've been planning on this? I already got how I want to run my offense. I already got that. What you need, what I would recommend for young coaches is figure out how to follow. Figure out how to follow. Before you can lead anything, figure out how to follow. And then figure out how to, whatever you're given, like I think, and I talk to our young guys because we got some volunteers on our staff now. I talk to them about now, because once you get in, you're so excited. You want to do this and help here and help here. The way you get more responsibility is handling what I gave you, right? So even me as a young coach, when I came in, I thought I was getting ready to recruit. Like my first year, I've had success now. My first year, I didn't bring in one kid. People don't know that because I was everywhere. I was trying to be the best trainer. I was trying to be the best recruiter. I was trying to show him my offensive package. They don't care. They don't. What you need to learn how to do is follow, handle responsibility, and then next bring your skill set, whether that be recruiting, whether that be training, whether that be, your offensive mind or whatever. But that comes third or fourth. Like if you don't know how to follow, because they already have an order how they want their program ran, you got to fit in with them. They're not trying to fit in with you. So I think guys need to have that in mind of, they think if I just have a kid, I can have a job. Some of those days are over, especially with NIL. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen here or there, but relationships matter. Because, and I'll tell you right now, if I get a head coaching job, I'm not hiring for one kid. I might hire because you can get me this kid and then a pipeline down the line, which means you have to have relationships. But I'm not hiring off of one kid. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think more coaches are starting to think that way, because what happens after that year? You just go fire the guy? Mm-hmm. You can't do that. You know what I mean? So I would recommend, man, that people humble themselves and figure out how to follow, figure out how to take care of the responsibility in front of them, and then bring their skill set to the table.
And man, the point you just made, I know we're talking basketball, but that's just in life. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think every boss was once a worker, right?
Exactly.
And like we wanna get to the level of we got control, but like when you're in control, you're really in that position because you can help others versus the other way around. So you need to learn how to be a good servant to the goal.
Absolutely.
It's crazy, and just in general, man, submission is such a powerful thing. But a lot of people don't want to do it.
Man, it's our ego.
It's an ego.
And that's in life. That's in basketball. That's in relationships. Like it's your ego.
It's your ego, man. And egos really mess up a lot of things. Just because you'd be like, it's kind of what we was talking about earlier. Like we be in our one spot, and he's like, damn, why we can't get out of this one spot? Is because you're not submitting to the process.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean?
The process, that's the key.
Not submitting to it. You know what I mean? And you sitting there wondering why you stuck.
Yeah.
I could go into days about that, man. So you talked about, and my next question was about your learning curve.
Yeah.
But outside of the submission piece, give me some other stuff that as you becoming a head coach and now you're assistant coach, what were some of the other things you learned over this tenure as far as being an assistant coach?
Yeah, so as much as it was a blessing to become a head coach so fast, I did the process backwards. I was a head coach, and then I had to, learn how to follow, which was a big learning curve because I have all these ideas in my mind, and now how he ran it is not how I ran it, and this, that, and the third, and now I'm in my ego, right?
Right.
Right. Not necessarily outwardly or even selfishly, but you build habits, and then those are in your mind, even though you're working for somebody. So my learning curve was drastic for me. It might not have seen that on the outside, but it was drastic for me because it was hard to go from that role to this role. And I'm not a selfish person by no means. I'm actually very selfless, but it was still hard when you have habits in your mind of certain ways you even learn, like for me, I learn out loud by making mistakes. Well, if you're working for somebody, it's fine when you're the head coach, you can make mistakes because you can fix it and all that. You can make them out loud as much as you want. If he asks you to do a job, you don't have time to be making those same mistakes. So you can't learn the same way as a head coach as you would as an assistant. You know what I mean? So the way I learned was differently. I had to figure out how to learn quieter and then bring, what I learned to the table. I just had to learn how to manipulate, and I shouldn't use the word manipulate. That's a bad connotation to it, but I just had to learn how to operate in a different space before I spoke. You know what I mean? As a head coach, like I'm used to blurting stuff out. Like that's how I learn. I learn by watching myself mess up. Like I don't learn by not, you know what I mean? It doesn't work that way. So I think that was my biggest learning curve, is actually, how to come about getting to the answer, whatever the answer may be, whether it's a play, whether it's recruiting, whether it's how to get to it, had to be a lot differently because I'm working for somebody, I'm serving that person. So however I learned could mess up his way of thinking. And not even that, he could think that him looking at it, he doesn't understand the way I learned, so he may not think I know what I'm doing at all. And I think that's another thing, like how me and Martelli are so close now, because he actually, it's funny that we're close because we're so opposite, bro. Like I promise you'll go in his office and everything is boom, 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 boom. You go in my office, man, this thing might be here. Like we're so opposite, but I think we complement each other. But he's gotten to watch me for 7 years. Okay, dang, I thought he didn't know, but this is how he comes about it. You know what I mean? So the learning curve for me was drastic, man. So that's why I hope that guys are able, if they're trying to get into the business, humble themselves and figure out how to follow first before you can lead.
The last thing, let's talk about some of the actual duties. Like when you first came in there, what were some of your duties as an assistant coach, and how much has that role increased over the tenure?
Yeah, so when I first got there, like I said, and I had all these ideas or whatever, I come into practice one day and I'm holding the clipboard. Not to draw up a play, I'm holding the clipboard, so when he stops a play, I got to go give it to the head coach. I'm like, man, what is this? I ain't built for this. I wanted to be here, but did I? But you got to handle that, right? My first responsibilities was handling the kids. It wasn't anything with basketball. It was, can you make sure their academics are in line? Can you even make sure that they're in class? Can you make sure that, when they have a problem on campus, that you're able to take care of that? And the way I grew was I had to learn, like I said, when I first got there, that trying to do all these things, they're not even asking me to do all these things. They don't even need it. My head coach, and I'm saying they don't even need it, right? So what did they ask me to do? So I had to learn whatever they asked me to do. And the first thing they really wanted me to do was take care of these academics, make sure they get to class. Boom. So I started doing that. I would do that like faithfully. I come in, I make sure that they knew I did my job. Then on top of that, when I had my own time, I would be in the gym with the guys. I'd be in the gym at the guys 11 o'clock at night. Like, I'm a maniac with that stuff. So, and I didn't even talk about it. What ended up happening was those guys would ask me after practice, hey, you worked out such and such at night. Can you work me out real quick? Then they started to see me as a workout guy. Even though they knew I was a workout guy, they, like I said, they already have their own plans. So once they saw me on the court afterwards, then I got given that responsibility. Okay, now you're in charge of, our development program. Boom. Once I was in charge of that, then now I grew, and Phil lets me do a whole bunch of stuff, and he asked me my advice. And like people look at me, and I laugh all the time, man, because going into college basketball, I thought recruiting was my worst thing. Like, and everybody looks at all these kids that have gotten there and they think like I'm this big recruiting genius. Like, no, I'm just treating people right and God is blessing me. You know what I mean? But that was like maybe the fourth or fifth thing that I was asked to do.
Wow.
So I think I got a lot of responsibilities now. Fortunately, Martelli's been with me for 6 or 7 years, so he knows my faults. He knows what I'm not good at. He knows what I'm good at, and he puts me in position to be able to handle the stuff that I'm really good at. On top of our staff, like I'm able to kind of, when you're a head coach, you can't be on the staff day to day. So me being the associate head, I'm able to work with the other assistants and keep stuff kind of in line. And we got a great. I'm blessed, honestly, man. We're talking about Bryant. Like, I am blessed that coach lets me do some of the things that I need to get better at, while holding me accountable, but we still have the relationship. Like, I don't think, and it's something I look at myself, I don't know, because of my heart is so big. I think coach has done an unbelievable job of having both of those things, being able to hold you accountable, but still being genuine enough for us to know that he's our guy. Yeah. He cares about us. So our staff, though, we got a young kid, Ryan Daly, who's done, I don't know if
I know that name.
Yeah,
I know that
bucket
name.
getter. I don't want to say, I hope he don't see that, because he's always trying to play guys one-on-one. He's still young. He got them young legs. So he playing guys one-on-one all the time. And then Nick Schmidt, whose father is at St. Bonaventure. Okay. And then Brendan Phelps, man, they all, I'm able to oversee a lot of their stuff, but they make my job easy, man, because they handle, like you said, they handle their responsibility like men. So, I think coach is blessed to have those guys. I'm blessed to, be working with those guys. But yeah, a lot of the stuff I do is recruiting. I handle the whole skill development program, which we take serious. Like, people talk about that, but we have a whole program. Like, we have a whole program from the summer to the year, and not just that, during the year, after the year, but I'm talking how we go about watching film on skill development, how we implement analytics into it. Like, we have a whole program. Like, it's not just go out there and work on your game. Like, we have a whole program, and we're really meticulous about how we do things. So I'm able to handle that and then kind of oversee the staff for some of the other responsibilities. So.
Okay. So tell me, how was it, man, when y'all made the tourney, man, 2022, man?
So, man, that's
like, how was that? And like,
that's got to be one of the best college feelings ever. Well, y'all did it, right? Twice. So I'm trying to get there twice, man. I'm trying to get there, but man, it's like the accumulation of a season. In that year, we had so many ups and downs, and I believe that's the best. Like,
but when did y'all know? Like, when did you know? Like, all right, we got it. Like, we really gonna make this push. Was it a church part during the season? Was it the beginning of the season?
So it wasn't the beginning of the season. I'm gonna tell you, it wasn't the beginning of the season. So it was somewhere in the middle of conference. We just started rattling off wins. But people don't know, like, when people talk about that, even in Rhode Island, they don't remember Man, we lost by 70 to Houston early in the year. 70. You know how much 70 points is? So,
That's
we
hurtful.
lost. Chris Duhon was on staff with us, right?
Yeah.
Who was at Duke. So we ended up, we're sitting right next to each other, and we're like, man, they just keep scoring. Like they just keep scoring. So we looking down at Kelvin Sampson, and he like, we ain't got nobody else to put in. So we got beat by 70, and people don't remember that because at the end of the year, man, we rattled off. We might have ran like 10 out of 11 off. We had the leading scorer in the country, but we had a team that came together and everybody just played their role. Nobody worried about who was the leading scorer. They knew who that was. Our guy who ended up being on the Jerry West watch was the second leading scorer. He didn't care. He wasn't trying to beat that guy out to be the head leading scorer. He was just trying to win, you know? And so we ended up rattling off, like, I don't know the exact number, but we rattled off like a lot of wins in conference. And then it ended with, I know a lot of people saw like that brawl and Wagner. It wasn't even us, man. We get blamed. It was their fans against their fans. Right? But we get the blame for that. But man, I wouldn't, man, winning. And high majors, you know, high majors get to go to the tournament sometimes, even when they don't win it. But when you win your tournament, or and you go off of that, man, that's one of the best feelings in the world. Seriously, out of a basketball, I haven't been a professional and coaching or playing. You know what I mean? So I don't know, but at the college level, man, winning a regular, not a regular season, winning a tournament championship, man, I don't know anything better. Seriously, it's like a drug too. Like you gotta go get it again.
How was like y'all? This is a small town where y'all at, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I just remember when we won, how literally we couldn't go nowhere without somebody talking to us or no, like. How was that?
So it's funny, man, because when we started the year, the gym was empty. Empty, man. We started going on the run and going to the dance and all this, man. Our games were wrapped around the whole gym, like it was in the hallway, wrapped around the gym, all that, like, and then people on campus waving at you that I didn't even know. Like, we going through all this in the beginning of the year. I'm not even trying to be seen much, you know what I mean? So when we started winning like that,
hey, Cat.
Yeah, people calling me Cat and stuff out there. I'm like, man, what is this? But it was a really good feeling, man, and to do it with the people that we did it with was even better feeling. But yeah, man, the town wrapped around us, and it's crazy because it's a small town, but Providence is right up the street. Like, I actually live in Providence, so I live closer to Providence University than Bryant.
Okay.
Brown is right around the corner. URI is maybe 20 minutes up the street. So I think at the time, us in Providence were the only ones that went to the tournament.
But so y'all was the talk of the time.
Yeah, we were the talk at that time. So, and we kind of kept it going. Now we're in the American East trying to get it done. So
what are some of the keys and the expectations for this upcoming season, man? Like, what y'all?
Well, you know, one thing, and I hope my guys don't watch this because we don't try to preach championship, right? We want to stick with the process. The overall goal is to win a championship. Yeah, of course. We're not doing this for kicks and giggles, right? But every day we're just trying to get better, man. We have a good group, honestly. I'm really proud of the job that, you know, we did as a staff, of the type of kids we brought in and then mixed with the talent. Like, a lot of times you don't get both. And I think we did a really good job of getting some guys that we didn't necessarily anticipate being as good as they are, and they are. And then the character of us being able to coach them. So I think, you know, I'm very proud of our guys and the way they've responded in practice and even outside of practice, how they handle themselves on campus. Because you can tell a lot. Players don't know this, but when you're coaching, obviously when we're older, you can tell a lot by your team of how they are when they're not playing basketball. Like, yeah, I know you're going to act a certain way when you're doing the thing you love, But when we're going to class and you don't like this class, are you able to follow that? Are you able to consistently do that? Well, if you can do that, then I know I can coach you, because whatever I say to you, you're not always going to like either, And I think our guys have done a really, really good job of being able to, sacrifice a lot of the stuff that maybe their habits were in the past to kind of form towards what the overall team needs. And just proud of a lot of guys who've kind of sacrificed some of the things that they normally have done. So I'm excited about this season, man. And, we'll take it day by day, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Cool. Let me something I wanted to ask. So we talked about relationships, but like now that you got, I think Sharif's overseas now, right? John Davis overseas. Like how do you still maintain those relationships with those guys that are now playing professional? And how does that make you feel, knowing that you really had your hand in that?
Man, it's funny because that's a two-part question. I'm very happy for them, but like I said, I'm not arrogant enough to think that it was all me.
Right.
Yeah, I do know I had a portion. I'm not, simple. I do know I had a portion in it, man. But just watching those guys, like a lot of those guys, like Sharif, we've seen Sharif since what, 10 years old, maybe?
Right.
Like, man.
Made me feel old. But
Man, seeing him when I got his little crossover on tape and he sent it to me, man, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big crier, but I dropped a tear on that one. And then John Davis, he ended up, signing with the Magic for a little bit and then doing his thing overseas. And guys like Antoine Walker, who was at HD Woodson.
Yeah.
HD Woodson.
Right.
HD Woodson. Right. And he ended up getting his degree.
Yeah.
Not only getting his degree, but now he's playing professionally. Probably nobody, out of the crew that he was with, man. There were some dudes over there.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up having the success he's had, and Sharif dealing with all the stuff that he's dealt with coming through, man. Honestly, it's what you do it for, right?
Yeah.
Like it really is what you do it for. And while you're in it, sometimes it's hard, it's difficult, but that's why you don't give up on these kids, man. Like everybody has a story. Everybody's unique. All of us been through something, but it's all been different, right? And I talk to my team a lot of times, like they'll sit there and be mad because this kid made this pass. Well, you're not him, so you don't know what he was looking at. Was it the right pass? Probably not. But you still don't know what led up to that. It's the same thing in life. You don't know what led up into that outburst. All you see is such and such acting a fool, but you don't know what happened that day, what he's been carrying for a week, what I've been talking to him about for a month. You don't know. All you see is he's a grown man. He needs to help, handle his business. But that's why we're in, God puts us in certain positions to be able to help some of these kids, because you've seen it for so much that you're able to kind of navigate, not saying that you can do it perfectly, but as kids, we want instant gratification.
Yeah.
As adults, we didn't see processes work out. So now when you're looking at somebody else's life, you're able to have a little bit more patience and an outlook to be able to help them navigate that. You know what I mean? Because all they're looking at is, I didn't get what I want right now.
Yeah.
I didn't get what I want right now. You got to be able to help them understand, well, there's an obstacle you got to get around, and you got to learn from that to get to this and that and the third. And then getting back to when you see those kids reach the accumulation of what they, earned, what they earned, you know what I mean? Not just on the basketball court, but through their life, what they earned, man. Oh, it is no better feeling.
Yeah.
No better feeling than serving and watching God work. You know what I mean? Because when you're serving and you watching God work, it's out of your control, especially when you're dealing with young men, right?
Yeah.
It's out of your control. So when you see that, it's not like it's something that you just did. Like, I'm working on my jumper. I know that's going to fall. You know what I mean? But when you see something happen that you trust in God with, and you watch him work, and it comes to this point, oh, man.
Yeah, man.
It ain't nothing better than that.
I just hear so much empathy in your tone, man, and that's a thing that I know I pray for because it's something that I've been learning recently. You know what I mean, and that's cool. And another thing you was just talking about, oftentimes we pay attention to the reaction, but not the action.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's always good to figure out, if you go behind the wall to see what really occurred, that caused that.
Yeah, you have to.
I mean?
If you're invested.
If you invest.
Right?
Exactly.
We talked about relationships. Like if you're not invested, you ain't going to even search for that.
Yeah.
Because you're just trying to get to the next step of your goal.
So man, we spoke a lot just about development. We both trained a ton.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Talk about training culture. Obviously, you've seen the evolution of it.
Yeah.
It gets a bad rap, especially right now. Like, what do you think needs to get fixed? And also just give us your overall viewpoint on training and its importance.
Yeah. You have to train. Like, I got a lot of different ideas on just the way basketball is going, and I don't believe that it's going in a wrong direction. Like, I think a lot of people have this knock on the new generation and how they're doing things, and it's too much training, or it's too much playing. Like, there's got to be a balance, right? Because of course, whatever you're training, you have to put into live action. So there's got to be a balance. The thing that I would say with trainers is I don't necessarily see anything wrong with what they're training, like the skill, because basketball is basketball. Like if I'm working on my jump shot, you can teach them the same way. I might do something differently, but we could teach them the same thing. What I would say is be invested. Like if you're just looking to get the dollar, or you're just looking to be the trainer so that this guy can see me and I can be here, then you're not going to be invested in that client. So as much as basketball is about basketball, it's still about life. Like if you're not invested, you're not going to get what you want out of that kid. And then your mental is not going to be there. So you're not going to be teaching the right things with the right effort, right? So my biggest thing, my first thing is be invested in what's in front of you, and then you can get the whatever is after that. For me personally, I like a lot of simple stuff. Like I don't have a lot of gets and gadgets, and I'm not knocking the people that do. I don't. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of people that do things differently. But for me, I'm kind of the Kobe era or the Kevin Durant era. Like if you watch Kevin's workouts, it could be 10 different workouts. He's doing the same exact thing every day. Same exact thing. And Kobe was the same way. He'll do the pivot to the jump shot 150 times in a row. And that's kind of where I'm built on as far as my stuff. Like we try to nail, and we'll do different things leading to that. Like we may do a spin move to the finish, but it'll be the same finish, then the same finish on the other hand. And then next day maybe a crossover, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I just think repetition and then being able to put the repetition under duress, I think that is what, and that goes into competition too. Like you got to make them tired and have them do it through fatigue, and then you got to do it also through competition as well. But for me personally, I do a lot of simple stuff. I don't, in my training, I don't waste a lot of time or motion. You know what I mean? If we're going to get to a floater, it's not always going to be, I'm not having you go full court to a floater or half court to a floater. Especially with the college season being so long, we may be there and get 25 reps of one dribble, boom, one dribble, boom.
Yep.
And then I do a lot of footwork stuff. But to your question of just the culture, I think where it's gotten messed up at is the business aspect of it, and when people put the business aspect over the investment of that child, player, professional, whatever, basketball has created so many different avenues, whether, what I mean? And training is one of them. And some people have made it lucrative. But when you put that ahead of the task at hand, I think that's where guys get messed up, because now you're starting to add stuff into the game that doesn't really matter for show. And that's not everybody.
For likes.
Yeah, for likes and show. And you got all these stuff that doesn't really, it's not relatable to the real game, you know. But for me, I'm not really a tick for tack. I'm not, hey, I do it this way, you can't do it that way. I just feel like if you're not invested and you're not really keeping that force, that your mind can drift and you can start doing things, wasting time that doesn't really relate to the game.
Yeah, principles.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what we teach more. We teach more principles than anything. And I tell people all the time, like when I was young, you know, we played a lot of 3-on-3, 2-on-2, and you were able to pick that up naturally. So now kids are so regimented,
Right.
that you, like for instance, when I first get a kid, like I don't teach moves. I really don't even teach moves. I teach movements. So if we're doing a between the legs cross, I'm gonna teach you where to put the leg, where to have your eyes, where to have your shoulders. But that same between the legs crossover can be an in and out crossover. I don't want to teach that, because the same move that Fat Cat did may not be for your body type or your explosiveness. You know, me and Abdullah were not the same way. I had to trick you. Abdullah could just go by you. You know what I mean? So to me, I think a lot of times trainers get messed up when they're teaching kids with outside of their natural ability. I think whatever you're teaching that kid should be like when you're customized to their natural ability, like to their body type, to their physical attributes, to their, you know, their athletic ability. Like for Earl, for instance, we teach a lot of, you know, selling his moves, but also spinning and using his body, kind of like Luka. You know, Luka's game is not for Halliburton, right? So if I have like another guy, I'm not going to teach those same things that get Earl those scoring or playmaking opportunities that I would for another guy that's maybe smaller or a different body type, or their game is different. And I think a lot of times guys are just training like the same thing, and it's got to be, you know, it's got to be purposeful, man.
Yeah. So now it's like trainers need to do some recruiting. They need to do better recruiting.
Yeah.
They need to go and watch these guys and see their tendencies and what they like and strengths and weaknesses. So when they put that program together for them, it's tailored to, like you said, what they naturally do.
Yeah, you got a kid that's not explosive and you wondering why your between the legs cross didn't just, well, you didn't tell him how to shift this guy with his eyes and his body to be able to get his body on the side of him. Like, it doesn't make too much sense. You got to figure out that part before you can get to that. So yeah, I would, if you're really about training, right? If you're really invested, we talked about relations. If you're really invested in it, I would suggest you look at that kid in depth of what you're trying to do with that kid. Like that's why some group training is cool with me, but to have kids go into a training with 10, 20 people every day, and some of it's fine if you're just trying to get your reps in. Like I'm not against that at all. But if I'm going Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday to a 20 group session, like what are we doing? You know? So
yeah. So we spoke on it a little bit, but what's your thoughts on the NIL and how social media has a big impact in basketball today?
It is a huge impact. I think it's good for the kids. I do understand why some of the older coaches are getting out and they're saying it's messing up the game. I don't feel like it's messing up the game. I do feel like a portion of it is, you know, diluting the game. But the kids earned it, right? They earned it. Like, who else is getting the money? So the money that they generate, where do you want that going then? If it's not for NIL, the money that they're generating, where do we want that going? To the universities? to, because the universities are going to get it, the coaches are going to get it, everybody's going to get a piece of it. They're not supposed to benefit off of it. Now, where it's got mixed up is that's leading the conversation now, and where there's guys that come from the old regime that are really about the kids, they're seeing the NIL lead the conversation, and now those kids are not developing the habits that they were able to teach during that time in college basketball. So if you take an old coach who was invested in discipline and this and that and teaching that guy a 4-year guy, how to go into the world and operate with the money and all that, and now he's coaching a 19-year-old kid making more than him maybe, right? Mm-hmm. Like my whole life I've been teaching for 30 years kids how to develop habits. Now I can't do that. What am I supposed to do? Right. And that's where I think some of the older generation is getting frustrated with, and you're starting to see some of them exit out. I don't necessarily have a fix for it. I don't know necessarily where it's going. I do think the kids have earned it, it's their name, image, and likeness. But I do understand where some people are losing the love, because we're not just talking about basketball, right? We're talking about what you were passionate about and helping these kids. And how much am I going to be able to tell a 19-year-old kid that's making more than me about how to be able to navigate his life to be able to operate when he's an adult? Well, I already make more than you. What do I need to learn that from? So it is frustrating to a certain extent, but at the same time, if you're invested, you got to figure that out. You got to figure out because you can reach them. You still can reach those kids. You still can do it. We just got to figure out and navigate another way to do it.
Yeah, that unlearning and relearning.
Especially when you're doing something a certain way for 40 years, 30, 40 years. Like, I'm Mike Krzyzewski, I'm out, man. I'm out, man. So I get it, but somebody's got to be there to do the job. So,
and like you said though, like this is what we've been fighting for.
Yeah,
you want them to have the money.
Yes,
I mean, and I think now is you got to adjust to younger kids having money, and then putting certain regulations in. You know what I mean, or just teaching them early about money. Another thing that I was thinking about is because they're damn near pros now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
and
might
so
as well say that, right?
Might as well treat it like that,
right?
But also have protection if you're not performing, because like now you should be held to a different standard.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And now that's the next step that the kids need to understand. Like, it's coming. Not for us, but there's been many programs that I've had rumors with where those guys are promised a certain amount of money and they don't even get a fourth of that. I hear it all the time. So you could be mad about the NIL, you're getting NIL, but now you got to, if you're a professional and you're getting money for this, now you got to perform. Now you got to go to class. Now you got to do what your job entails. Like, everybody gets paid to do a job. You need to do what your job entails. And if you don't reach a certain standard, then what are we supposed to do?
Play for pay, baby.
Yes.
Play for pay, baby. This is what comes.
It's a crazy day, man. It's a crazy day in college basketball.
All right, man. We go ahead.
Before we go, we always ask. So we always give the scenario of, let's say we have 12 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Down to you need a bucket. What's your go-to move?
My go-to move?
Go-to move.
Well, my first go-to move, you're talking about like when I was in high school and stuff, right?
Yeah, when you played.
Yeah, I gotta go find Kevin. Wherever in and out I can get to Kevin or Abdullah, that's who's gonna get it. That's my go-to move. I tell the story all the time, man. I kick myself because I saw a kid do it the other day. Kevin was just coming up, but we knew he was good, right? I caught the ball in the corner with like 5 seconds left. We were in Philly playing in some summer league. 5 seconds left, and Kevin is open for one more. But, you know, in practice, I hit game winners. Like, I don't shoot a lot, but I hit game winners. Man, I caught that in the corner so confidently and shot that joint. Kevin got like 27 at this time. Man, that joint went over the rim. I said, oh, man. You know what? My bad, youngin. He didn't get mad at me because he was younger than me at the time. I'm like, dog, yeah. So my go-to is a quick in and out cross spin, whatever training move that people were teaching now to find a skip to Kevin. I don't care if he got 2, 3 people there. If Abdullah's coming off something, I'm finding him with a shape. Chris Matthews, wherever I'm trying to find one of them dudes, man. That's my go-to.
Hey. All right, so let's take the same scenario from a coach's perspective.
From a coach's perspective.
What you drawing up, how you attacking this situation?
Well, you know, now that, you know, I'm coaching under Coach Martelli, he's prepared for everything. Man, y'all played for him, so y'all probably seen him. He's prepared for everything. So first, it's going to depend on what I think they're doing. And the way he makes us scout, we got to figure out what we think they're going to do defensively ahead of time and all that. So it's going to be dictated on their ball screen coverage, or if their ball screen coverage, or if they're guarding a flare a certain way. It really depends on who's the lazy. It depends on a lot of stuff. So it's hard for me to say something right away, but if I just had to give somebody the ball, get out the way, probably run some ghost stuff into some weak side action or something like that, man.
Okay.
But
Like
being prepared, man, is way more important than just giving it to somebody. So
you trying to find who's the weakest link. And
and there is one. Like there's 5 guys out there. There's always one. Even if they're good defensively, there's one that's either overzealous, or there's one that's lazy, or there's one ball screen coverage that somebody just can't do, or not even ball. Doesn't have to be ball screen coverage. Like some guys can't guard staggers and stuff like that, or some guys just aren't mentally prepared to be able to guard multiple actions. So you got to figure out what, you know, those guys' weakness is, and then kind of attack that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know we spoke about it on camera. We want to get a shout out. Coach Martelli once said, "Hello, man.
It's my
you
guy.
know you changed the trajectory of my senior year, because I was about to go selfish, but you told me how you want to be remembered. That, you know, we had a beautiful season that year, so I appreciate you."
We actually talked about it, man. Me and him, of me trying to get down here. So I'm glad I was able to happen, man.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, for sure. All right. So we're down to the end, man. We play this game called Either Or. You gotta pick one or the other, and if you pick both, do we got it in here?
Oh, yeah, right here.
You gotta take a shot of ginger.
All right, what we got?
That's why y'all got the water.
Oh, okay.
All right. We tried to make this a point guard version.
Okay.
All right. AI or Steph?
Steph.
Okay. Steve Francis or Ja Morant?
Ja.
Okay.
From DC. Ooh, that hurt though. For Ja.
Lou Will or Jamal Crawford?
Ooh. Woo! That ginger right there. Man, that's tough. I'm going to go with Lou Will.
Okay. All right.
Dang, that's tough.
All right. Rock Creek or National Christian?
National Christian. National Christian.
All right. CP3 or John Stockton?
John Stockton.
Okay. All right. I'm curious on this one. Terrell Brandon, you remember him?
Do I?
Okay. All right. Good. Terrell Brandon or the lefty Isaiah Thomas?
Ooh. Lefty Isaiah.
Okay.
That was tough though. You know who Terrell Brandon reminded me of? Ray Brewer, but Ray was lefty. You know, Terrell was righty, but Ray kind of played like Terrell.
Yeah, a lot of people sleeping on him.
Yeah,
Man. He was
my
like
goodness.
That. He was like that. And also, I couldn't find nobody. I was thinking about Troy Hudson. You remember Troy Hudson?
Yeah,
Came off the bench. I couldn't think of nobody I wanted to compare him with. But
that Terrell Brandon one, that was even closer than the Lou Will, Jamal Carl. I don't know who I would have taken, man.
He just don't want to take this ginger.
No, you gotta be concrete with your answers, man.
I did a duo. So I did Melo and AI when they was with the Nuggets, or T-Mac and Vince when they was with the Raptors.
Dang. I might have to do the ginger.
We probably got one.
I don't know who to do with that one, but that one was tough. Dang, that one was tough.
Yeah, I've been trying to make these harder and harder.
Woo.
I know, right? Good kick to it.
Ain't that bad, y'all.
Still ain't never get used to this.
Just inflammation. I'm gonna take 2.
That was a good one, though.
All right. Here we go. Charlie Weber or the Peach Jam? I'm bringing back the memory.
Yeah, Charlie Weber was tough. I hate to do this, but Peach Jam.
Okay. All right. Man, that Charlie Weber was something.
Was it?
Oh my God. I think I actually ended up playing against you in that joint one time.
Probably.
Because you were with Assault.
Yeah.
And I was playing up with the Blue Devils.
Yeah.
And I got in the game for a hot second. And I missed a 3. And what's my man at PBI? Light skin, Coach Best. He's like, damn, we put you in the game, you're supposed to make the shot. Yeah. I was like, damn. I was like, okay. Talk about expectations. I was like, man, I was
as a younger.
I was like, you gotta make the shot. Yeah. All right. Jason Kidd or Gary Payton?
Jason Kidd.
Okay, that was easy for you.
Yeah, that was easy for you. You can't do Jason Kidd with me.
Okay. All right, cool. Luka or Magic Johnson?
Magic.
Okay. Magic or Jason Kidd?
Magic.
Okay.
Magic.
All right. Bron or Kobe?
Bron.
Bron or MJ?
Come on, man. Come on, man. It's MJ and then it's the rest of the field.
Okay. All right. Cool. We ain't know. Yeah, that's why I gotta hit each level.
Yeah, it's MJ and it's the rest of the field.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool, man. You did a good job. That was only one.
Yeah.
All right.
That was a good job, man. So now we definitely closing out the interview, man. We want to give the floor to you to give your final thoughts and to talk to the players, parents, trainers, coaches, just about this game and if they're ready to get into this industry. Yeah. Give you the floor.
So I know we talked a lot today about relationships, and a lot of my success has been based off that. You know, I've been able to, you know, do a lot with this basketball thing based on guys that have looked out for me, based on working with guys that I played with, like a lot of guys in the business now that are big time names. Like you had Ray Brewer on here. Chris Howard's doing a bunch of stuff. Devin Sweeney just got into college. I'm getting ready to play Sienna, or Renze, who was on my AAU team. Like all of us that are in this business play with each other and develop relationships. And now we're mentoring people. So I would suggest, you know, that with every and anything that we're doing, that we know that there's another level to. So we have to not think about, just the immediate impact of what we're doing, but the relationship and being genuine, because we know whatever we're giving to these kids, some of them are going to make the NBA, some of them are going to be professional athletes, but a lot of them are going to be shaping the youth under them. And then it's going to keep going like that. So if we want a better world, if we want a better basketball culture, if we want a better, if we want better results, we got to take care of what's in front of us and we got to be genuine with it, right? We got to be invested in these kids, not just on the basketball court, but outside of the basketball court, because whatever they learn outside of the basketball court is going to impact what they're doing on the basketball court for that next level. And we see it with us, right? A lot of the guys that were older than us have taught us such a way with the business of basketball. They've taught us how to prepare for basketball. And that's why you have the Chris Pauls and the LeBron James and the Dwayne Wades and the Kevin Durants and the Steph Currys who have been able to move the game forward. They didn't just come up with this. They learned the basis of how to act, how to inspire, how to mentor from the people that mentored them. If we can continue to grow in that as adults, then we're not just affecting our kids, our mentees, and the immediate people to us. We're affecting years and years down the line, and we have to start looking at things like that. There's only going to be a few bunch that make it. There's only one Kevin Durant. There's only a couple Taiwan Lawsons, Mike Beasley's, those guys that we grew up with. We all played, but now you're sitting here and inspiring through your podcast. I'm inspiring by coaching. The guys like Bryant University are running tournaments and Lethal Shooters and Influencer, and Ray Brewer is with one of the biggest AAU organizations. We're all in different spots and inspiring from different viewpoints, but we've learned it from somewhere. And not to say that we're perfect, because not any of us are perfect, but if we do our best in the space that we have, then we can be proud and look forward to years and years of more growth, not just impacting what we know on this level, but if those guys that we're impacting learn how to grow, then they're going to be better than us. The next level will be better and better and better. So my biggest thing is, man, try whatever you're doing to be genuine with it, so that we can keep growing, not just the basketball game, but the culture and the city and then the world. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man,
Hey,
man. I think Cat got another gear into being a keynote speaker.
Oh Lord,
or maybe even,
I gotta eat what's in front of me first.
Reverend Fat Cat. Hey man, we definitely enjoyed you. We definitely
I did
appreciate
too,
you coming
man.
in. We look forward to you having a successful season, and definitely make sure you guys tune in. This was a great episode. That's it. That's it on our end.
It's a wrap.
Hey, most of all, stay game related.